I'm just gonna put it on the big screen.
Oh,
Why is this just? Do I have to drag it to the big screen to make it go to the big screen?
Do you want it buried or what?
No, I just want it.
So you gotta go to display. And there you go. Which direction you going?
Yeah, no, I want to use this camera. Display. Booyah! All right. There we go. Cool. How's it going, everybody?
Good. A bit pressed for time.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. All right.
What's up?
Okay, so I guess we have this awesome query coming back with a ton of data that we're ready to send to the dashboard. And you were telling us about the SNS SQS service, and
Yep.
I think we may be approaching a time where we're ready to start implementing some of it.
Okay. So the query that you are talking about is a SQL query?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
So we have Vinegar, this program that's kind of wrapped around that, and it can send off HTTP requests. And
of what type and when, and isn't Vinegar like the statistics engine?
I'm sorry?
Isn't Vinegar the statistics engine?
Not really. It's like the financial data aggregation for the entire dashboard.
Yeah. Okay. I slightly improperly. What? No?
Sorry? No, that was Noel asked me a question.
Okay. So Vinegar runs once in a while, all the time.
Well, it will have processes that are going to be running more often than others.
Okay, but how often is often?
I think there's one part that will run at least once a day.
Oh, that's the highest rate?
I believe so.
Okay. And you need the information, the query, the SQL query is against Vinegar data?
Yeah, so like we have Vinegar's kind of job is to take our data sources, clean them up a little bit, and then put them into our database, and the SQL queries are onto our database of this data that we collected.
Okay. And does Vinegar have a different database than the rest of the app?
Yes.
Good. And so where do you think SQS and SNS fit into this?
I think that there's going to be some sort of process that says, hey, Vinegar, do you have any updated data? And Vinegar would run and it would check for updated data, and maybe it will say, hey, no, there's nothing, you're good to go, you can use whatever. Or it will say, oh, there's some new data, let me just process it. And I guess that the SQL query is more so when that is done that we can access that data in a way that's useful.
Okay, let me give you my initial feedback on what you just said.
Okay.
I don't think you should ask Vinegar anything. You should only tell Vinegar things, right? Tell, don't ask.
Okay.
So Vinegar knows when it has data, and it knows when things have changed. So what I would recommend is at the end of that process, it maybe queues a message saying data has been updated.
Okay.
Then another process runs your SQL query, and the results of that SQL query get stuck somewhere, and then that's what's displayed when people want to know the information in your SQL query.
Okay, so by stuck somewhere, do you mean like in a copy of the database? Do you mean
it could be in a database, it could be in Redis. I mean, I don't know how much data we're talking about. I don't know what's practical, but more importantly is the process of Vinegar runs. It says I'm done, right? And it sends a message in SQS. Anybody who needs to know about Vinegar updates will receive that message on their own queue, which is subscribed to the Vinegar SNS topic.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay, and then.
Oh, they're called topics, Tom? Nice. I've been wondering about that.
Yeah. SQS queues SNS topics. So right. So Finnegar will put some JSON with relevant details, like when it completed or whatever is required, what was updated. You guys know the domain, so but it'll.
Just so we're clear too, Katie, that's a meta message, right, Tom? So it's like, Katie, don't think that we're talking about the payload or a result from a SQL query. It's just the message that's being passed.
Yeah, it says Finnegar just finished successfully. Like there's new data available because Finnegar is cool and did its job, right?
Right.
And then I would think this little tiny simple thing that is your new SQL query would have its own SQS queue that subscribes to the Finnegar topic. So it gets alerted and says Finnegar's done. It runs the SQS query. It stores the results of that query somewhere. I'll leave that up to you. And then there's an endpoint to access that query data, and that's how it ends up on the dashboard. So whenever you're looking at the dashboard, you're always looking at the results of the latest Finnegar run.
Got it. So then the thing that sends off the request, it shouldn't fire the SQL query. It should look at a location that stored the results of that.
Say that again, please.
So the SQL query itself, right? You're saying that a process should not fire off the SQL query, but instead fire off something else that will give back the results of that?
Let me draw something.
All right.
What's the right way to do that? I'm going to share my screen. That one looks good. Where is that? What do you guys see on screen right now? That?
Nothing.
You see Yosemite?
Oh, there we go.
Okay. All right. I'm going to fire up. Oops. It's not what I really wanted, but that'll work. Really? Okay. So we've got.
I'm still just seeing your desktop.
Really?
Yeah.
What'd you say, Katie?
I'm still just seeing the desktop. It's pretty though. I feel calm.
Okay, so that's a little strange to me. I am screen sharing, but I don't know what. Apparently.
You might not be do the entire screen. That's usually what.
Yeah, because it looked like Tom was in terminal, but it wasn't showing his terminal.
Yeah.
The active application looked like terminal.
Got it. How's that look?
Yep.
Better.
Excellent. Sorry about that. Okay, we have Finnegar.
Is this your use case?
How you spell it? 2 N's?
One is fine. Doesn't matter. The point's there.
Oh, everything matters.
Especially when naming things.
Yeah, me and Brian, we had a whole night talking about naming things. Horrible.
I've had many nights talking about naming things.
You mean nightmares?
Oh, just like you never end with that conversation.
Nope, you don't.
You don't end the conversation ever.
Like on Horrible, we have like 2 verb actions. So first action.
What is the SQL query? What is its name?
It hasn't been named yet. Primary. I would say
Let me tell you how Apple Computer got famous and one of their initial strategies. Like whenever a new project was started, the very first thing they did was name it and get T-shirts printed. Like you can't write a SQL query without giving it a name.
All right.
How do you know what you're writing?
It's
You can change the name.
primary.
Yeah, Katie, I challenge you to think. Don't think about what the to get to a mass. That's the name of the thing.
Sorry, say that again, Stokes.
So what's the final result that you're trying to amass? That's the name of it. Don't think about the implementation of that long ass SQL query.
Yeah.
What's the final result that's coming out?
It's like the primary ticker for each entity that's public. So, on a primary tickers or ideal tickers, something like that. Primary securities.
All right, cool.
I think Christian's is tuned in, and he said, "Name it easy, Katie." Tom's been hanging out in West Virginia over there. He got primary securities.
I read it like that too.
You? Right? Is this becoming clear?
I would say change that last one to with entity information. Or,
Say that?
Entity is the wrong word there
Why?
because it would be entities. Like it's a security per entity with entity details.
Now let's be clear. Like when I say entity, I'm talking like, REST entity or
Okay.
Right? So this thing that is going to show up on your dashboard is going to be available at a URL on the API.
Okay.
Fair enough?
For the most part, there's some
Now, Tom, I've never really been. I'm not
Rashawn, I can't hear you, buddy.
situation this often, but literally a naming conflict with.
Rashawn, your audio is shit.
Okay.
I'm guessing that it would be greatly improved if Katie turned off her video.
That's what I was just doing.
Tom, entity is a word that's used within our domain. So doesn't that take precedence over HTTP?
I mean, no. One, you shouldn't have done that, probably.
Yeah, that's
Well, Tom, tell that to S&P an investment now.
Sorry?
It's SQL, right? You starting with SQL?
Wait, what? This
You're
is
talking about entities.
no. Here's what this entity is. The HTTP entity in terms of like a company entity.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, I think so. Double-sided arrow there. Okay.
And the dashboard hits the API and gets a response with whatever it needs to draw the dashboard. But that data fundamentally was placed, you know, Finnegar ran, hit the topic, this queue got the message, this little tiny program picked it up, ran the SQL, stored it somewhere, the
Okay.
API has access to it, right? So the dashboard hits the API and draws.
Mm-hmm. So Snugs, is this going to be the sensible gem as well, or are we going to maybe put another API around this?
He said,
It says no need it.
that.
But in terms of that, then yeah, no, I'm saying would we have another API that we're going to build out around this?
I can't imagine why it wouldn't be part of the same thing as anything else.
But
Could be wrong, but
yeah, Snug is messaging me, so I guess it's hard to either, I guess. But if we're gonna be sending some stuff to the dashboard, wouldn't this be a bridge that we're crossing now?
say again?
Well, Snugs is the sensible gem gonna be the API that wraps around this, or are we gonna build another one? And he said, great question, we'll cross that bridge. And then I said, well, isn't that the point that we're at now, where we have to build out this API because we're gonna start sending some information to the dashboard?
I don't understand what the sensible gem has to do with it.
Yeah, it's really, the sensible gem is really like the only API that we build out so far, like only like real API.
Real API?
Like in terms of
Don't you have an HTTP API?
Yeah, we do.
We do?
It's the
Which one?
Sensible API.
That's what I was. Is that different than the gem?
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah, the gem's a very specific thing. I mean, the gem may implement part of the API, but I mean, it has like a URI space, and you can say, hey, you know, hit this endpoint and get this data, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, I don't know exactly how it's designed and stuff, but the important thing here is this is a straight line. Finnegar runs, it tells people it ran. Things that are interested have queues subscribe to that topic. They pick up the queries and do what they're supposed to do when Finnegar.
Yes.
Yes?
Puppy there?
You guys, I'm trying to work here. It's Mom, I'm working. Extremely difficult with.
I got him.
Okay. Cool. I think.
Actually, Katie.
Huh? Yeah. So I'm thinking that we're reaching a point where we can start actually building some of this stuff out. If we're gonna kind of start bridging stuff together. Yeah, it's kind of, so I mean in terms of this center point here where they're both meeting in the middle, that would be something that would be like Redis or something, right?
Are you talking about here?
No, the
Here.
one box where it has 2 arrows going in. Yes.
This one.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. How important is it to have a record of this over time?
That's already done through Finnegar. Maybe not of the query itself, but any data that's going through.
Okay.
There's a
How
record.
about But how about the history of this list? Is that important?
That would be a Phil question, I guess.
I think the thing that determines what you use for this is its durability requirements and whatnot.
Okay.
Like it may make sense in the database, it may make sense in Redis. Redis isn't as durable as Postgres, so like if you absolutely must have it in the future, then by all means use Postgres. If you don't really care if you have it in the future, then go ahead and use Redis.
Okay. Noel, Snug says this stuff here. Hey, I have a side note while it's on my head. In terms of Postgres, which is better to use, double precision or float like 53?
Financial data should only be stored in decimal types.
So would that be the float or would that be the double precision?
Neither, I think.
So
there's a special type called decimal.
There's a decimal type?
Oh.
So that should be used in place of doubles in like SQL?
Yeah, you should no, I think MySQL has decimal types as well. You should never, ever, 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 ever store amounts of currency in a non-decimal type system.
I think they're less of currency and more in terms of like results of quant operations.
But at the end of the day, they're expressed in currency, right?
No, they were expressed in what was stored in SQL as a double.
Which doesn't mean it was right in SQL.
Yes, but that's the data set that we're converting from.
Well, but you're in development. I mean, SQL can change if it needs to.
Right,
I'm saying no amounts of money should ever be stored in a non-decimal type. Like I don't know how to state that any more clearly.
No, that's very, very fair.
Yeah.
Cool.
To the extent that you do, it will eventually cause you unbelievable nightmares.
Okay. All right, no problem. All right, and then SNS and SQS, there's like Amazon services that we can utilize to handle these
Yes.
operations.
Yeah, they're SNS and SQS.
Where should I go?
Okay, and it's like through Amazon also, and it's simple to set up from what you were talking about from a previous hangout.
Yeah, let me show you. Rashawn and I were up really late one night, and we did something somewhere. Let me find it. Let me guess this for you. What do you see on screen right now?
The chart still.
Okay, interesting. So I'm like sharing a window, not a. I don't know what the hell I'm sharing right now. It's weird. New. No.
Are there lumberjacks chopping down houses or something? What's going on?
No, it's paper bags being messed with.
I'm sorry, I'm done.
Where is chat in this nasty, horrible, unintuitive user interface?
Depends on which version of it.
There's a GIST that Snugs and I made one night of some code we wrote to demonstrate SNS to SQS delivery.
Awesome. Snugs, do you have it?
It's in the channel here. You just can't tell because the interface sucks.
Got it.
There's a chat thing in the top left corner of the Google Plus window.
I see showcase and I see screen share.
No, further up left.
Uh,
Isn't there chat at the very top?
Snugs is messaging it to me now, so that works out. I still can't see it.
Okay.
But awesome. Awesome.
Tom, are we getting older, or are these tools just getting shittier by the day, man? Or is it a combination of both?
I don't know. They work pretty well unless you're involved.
Unless you're involved?
Rashawn always has communication difficulties.
I don't think it's the tools. I think it's the internet overall. Like, they tried.
Right.
They're flooding it with a lot of stuff.
Maybe.
And then providers are like, no, we're going to limit how much data you can actually get. Or pay for, or whatever, your streaming speed. Yeah, I really don't see the chat window. That's so strange. In terms of what I see, there's nothing further up than the screen sharing, so that's funny.
Okay.
Awesome.
The link, right?
Yeah, I see that. That's it. SNS published. And in terms of this, there's no limit on, if you have anything in your queue, they all have to be written in the same language or anything like that, right?
Nope, the queues can be just simple text messages. I would highly recommend JSON.
Awesome, awesome. Things have been going through in JSON so far, so that's pretty good, including our logging system, thanks to Snugs.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just text messages, and JSON is a pretty universal candidate for that sort of thing these days, so I would recommend that. And there's certainly, Amazon libraries in all major languages, up to and including, Python, Ruby, Go, whatever you're going to be using. So.
Awesome. And then, hold on one second. Okay. I'm gonna share my screen of the code that Doug's pulled up of the gist, so you can run through it. If that's cool. Awesome.
I think there's actually comments and shit in there, so just fairly rare for me.
Where's the whole thing? Desktop. Can you see it?
Nope.
Alrighty then.
Here it is. Oh, I see something. I see your desktop Finder window.
Alright, then that's not what I was going for. Let's turn off the screen share. Why is this not an option? There we go. This is a lot harder when you have like 20 million things up. Okay. How about this?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So this is in Ruby. Is it in Ruby? It's in Ruby. Okay. So can it be written in other languages, or is it Ruby mostly?
You can write anything in any language that's Turing complete.
The AWS stuff?
Yeah, they have libraries that'll be similar in nature to this in all major languages.
Okay, awesome. So you create a new SNS.
Right.
And then you create topics, and they'll have a response.
Actually, an SNS is a topic.
Sorry, say that again?
An SNS is known as a topic. Like SNS is the service, and a topic is the queue.
What will activate something in a queue?
It's the thing that you send a message to that it broadcasts to everybody subscribed to it.
Okay. And in this case, this one is called SNS test.
Right.
Awesome. Create now, then puts in. So this now prints the response of whether or not that was successful. And then SQS. So now there's a queue.
Right.
Also printing out the response of whether or not that was successful.
So do you understand what SNS does?
I would say roughly.
It's publish and subscribe, right?
Right.
One message goes in and everybody gets it that is interested in it.
And then I remember there was one point we were talking about a logger, and a logger would be listening to all of them, right?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Right. And so then an SQS subscribes to an SNS topic. An SQS queue can be subscribed to the topic.
Can be a topic?
No. An SNS queue can be subscribed to an SNS topic.
Okay. Two. All right. I heard as.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then what in this case would be the queue attributes?
The queue attributes.
From up here, line 26.
Yeah, it's what was returned by the. We ask it for all of its attributes so we can get a thing called like QARN and maybe some other shit required later in the code. It's just you created a queue and it's dumping back all of the details about the queue, probably when it was created, blah, blah, blah.
Okay, so like not necessarily like it's doing this thing or has this data in it, but
No. This isn't about the operation of the queue. It's about it's metadata about the queue.
Okay. And then the same.
And it prints everything out, so you can see every step of the way.
Awesome. Yeah, I can. That's one of the few lines of Ruby that I really do know. And then subscribe. So this is the actual subscription process here.
Yeah, 32 to a line 32 to 35 basically subscribes it.
And you would only Is it when you have a queue that already exists and maybe you introduce another one, it's not too difficult to have other people subscribe to that? No.
You don't subscribe to queues, you subscribe
to topics that the queue is subscribed to as well.
Yeah, it's not. You can have as many topics as you want, as many queues as you want.
Okay, all right. I think I'm sort of getting this a little bit better now.
Okay.
And like really, the topics are mostly like this group of things all care about whatever they're doing within each other, right?
Let me switch back to my screen. My drawing, wherever it is. What do you guys see now? Oh, you see my desktop.
Desktop, yeah.
Oh, I get it. It's a window. Like,
You want to share your screen, not the desktop.
you want to share a window, I think. Isn't that right?
Or window, maybe. I'm plugged into two monitors, so it has like screen 1 and screen 2 for me.
Fascinating. Okay, I think I understand what's going on here. Do that. And now. Okay, messages go into the topic here, right?
Right.
And then queues subscribe to the topic. So imagine in the future you needed to do another thing when Vinegar was done running.
Right.
Okay? What you would do is you'd make you'd make another queue, subscribe it to that topic, and then hang code off of it.
And then anything within that topic will get the notification of the other queues when they do some sort of process.
No, when Vinegar puts a message into the topic, that in this topic is Vinegar updated. Make sense?
Okay.
There's like a topic called Vinegar updated. So Vinegar sends a message into it when it updates.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then everybody else that needs to do something when Vinegar is updated, they get notified.
Okay. Through the SNS.
Hold on, let me do a little bit more drawing here.
On a side note, I'm being told that this should all be more along the lines of get ticker, and that we shouldn't be using primary or securities along here.
That's fine. I'll let you update the names. So let's just say this is future. Okay. So you know what Vinegar is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what arrows imply. They imply message flow, right?
Right.
So Vinegar sends a message to an SNS topic.
Okay.
Yes?
Yes.
Various, or in this case right now, a single, what did you call this? Ticker?
Get ticker, yeah.
I think that's probably the API name, but this is update tickers, because it does more than one.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So Vinegar, when it runs, it sends a message upon completion into the SNS topic. Because the update ticker's SQSQ is subscribed to the ticket, SNS sends a message into the SQSQ. The same message that Vinegar sent in will get distributed to the SQSQ.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, and I could probably simplify this by putting an arrow in here. That makes that kind of clear. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Then this thing pulls a message out. It doesn't really deliver it. This is probably slightly confusing. This is more like a bidirectional thing. Right? Like, this thing pulls the queue and gets the message that Vinegar sent in when it becomes available. Okay? This is a little piece of code that just waits to receive a queue message then runs the SQL query and stores the results.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So this is like the code in question right here. Right? This is the code you're writing that issues the SQL query and stores it in the database. Yeah?
Right.
Once it's in the database of some sort, the getTicker API can query it and return responses. Yeah?
Right.
So the dashboard says getTicker AAPL for Apple, and it responds back with whatever the ticker information is for Apple.
Okay.
Okay? So does that make sense?
Yes. So there will never be at any point the API directly executing SQL query.
Hell no. Hell no. Let me say that more loudly. Hell no. Oh, wait. That's not necessarily true. It won't issue, I'll tell you what it won't do, is it won't issue this nasty SQL query that gets a whole bunch of data and returns it back in a big chunk.
Okay.
It might issue SQL to get just one of the results. Right? I mean, something here has to get it out of the storage.
All right.
Something in the API has to pull it out of storage, but that storage may be Redis or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or it may be SQL, in which case, yeah, it will issue SQL. But the hell no is it won't be issuing this SQL.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
That SQL is probably rather expensive and only needs to be issued when Finnegar updates.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
So the interesting part of this architecture is that in the future, when something else needs to be done when Finnegar updates, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can just go create a new queue, plug it in to the same, subscribe it to the same topic, and then when Finnegar updates, both of these processes will run.
Is there a limit to how many subscriptions you can have on the SNS?
Nothing worth worrying about. What's your concern?
Well, just Finnegar is kind of the source of a lot of data, so every time it updates, there are going to be tons of eventually, like the API endpoints that are updating as well.
But doesn't it updates separate processes, right? Like it's not one source of data, Finnegar. It has all kinds of data in it, but sometimes it updates tickers, other times it updates other things.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, is that not true? Does Finnegar just update everything?
Yeah, pretty much. Like there are going to be certain tables that are updated more often than others, but they can also have a total rebuild of data that's coming in.
Okay, but how often is often? Is this the same daily process we were talking about?
No, the daily process is probably just the tickers in terms of what their price is.
But my point is there a Finnegar process that just updates prices, whereas there are other ones that do more? Or is there?
It is the Finnegar process will update anything that needs updating at any point.
Okay.
But that can be simply just.
Well, you don't know. You don't know what it is, right?
Yeah. We don't know. That's the. Yeah.
And here's the thing. I mean, ideally, you'll build the system in a way that you won't have to know. So Finnegar runs and says, I've updated. If it doesn't run for 2 weeks, nothing happens, right?
Right.
When it does update, all of the things can go in and grab data out of Finnegar and get them kind of prepped and ready for fast API responses. But the API won't need to talk directly to Finnegar.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think this will be way more scalable and secure, and this thing will be like a mile away from the website. It's just a much better process. And every time Vinegar runs, he puts in a message. Anything that needs to be changed when Vinegar updates just receives a message, makes the changes, and you're good.
Okay. Awesome.
Yep.
All right. I think this is resonating a lot more with me now.
Okay.
And the sample code will definitely playing around with that a little bit will be awesome. It would be cool to have, you know, let Vinegar run, let it update, and then see that the SQL query updates as well.
Yeah, I would start with simpler than that. I mean, run the script as is, right? Like, you know, or just send some random crap in and watch random crap come out. Like, it doesn't assume JSON now. Like, it's just raw, that little sample I gave you.
Mm-hmm. So there's, okay, I'm going to switch back to that for a second. You don't need to as well. I'm just going to glance.
Yeah,
so,
go ahead and share that for me again.
Wait, so there's a way that you specify, sorry, hang on. Screen to share. There's a way that you specify like what kind of responses are coming through.
Because
you just said JSON, so I'm a little.
Tags for Hamper, please add a card 2, 4, or 5. Might want to start gathering your blind, look around, see to make sure you have everything.
what the fuck is that? Oh, that's Rashawn on the train. Okay, could you? Okay, so let me show you. Could you scroll up a little bit, please? Okay, so the beginning, line 1 through line 39 is just one-time setup.
Okay.
Right, that sets up a new topic. It creates a new queue. It subscribes the queue to the topic.
Okay.
Then on line 40 is yeah, please. Okay, stop moving, please. Line 40 is a message being published into SNS. This would run in Vinegar, line 40. Okay, and it publishes to the topic. The message is Bob is your uncle, right? Subject Bob. Subject is kind of irrelevant in this case, but the message is your uncle. This could be, message could well be JSON. Should be JSON in your case.
Okay.
Okay? That message gets sent in, and line 48 is sort of noise here. It's sending a message, Cindy, into the SQS queue directly. I wanted to compare the time it took to send through SNS and SQS or just through SQS.
Okay.
Okay? So Cindy doesn't really count. Like, she's not part of what you'll be doing.
Okay.
Then I start a timer on line 55. Right? Line 58 just sits there and gets messages off the SQS queue. So there's 2 messages expected, Bob and Cindy.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
And the way that code is written, it looks to me, it's just going to hang at the end, polling for more messages. Okay, and then 66 through 76 is cleanup. It gets rid of the queue, it gets rid of the topic, you know, it jumps back down the rabbit hole.
So this section of code, the 57 through 64, is kind of like the listener aspect to all of the queues?
Yeah, that will run in your process that you want to run your big gnarly SQL query in.
Okay.
Like, you'll get a message, and then when you get a message, you'll run the SQL query and put the result somewhere else. right? Each time you get a message, you'll want to run the query and update your database or Redis or whatever.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so, you know, you wait until you're told to work, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that's it.
All right. Cool.
One thing that could make sense as well, you can talk this over with Snugs, is it's possible and sort of desirable in some respects. Where is my drawing? You can see this on screen?
Yes.
Okay, another possibility is to think of Vinegar out here. This is probably even cleaner.
I think this here, what you're describing, is what we were thinking of, kind of at the beginning.
So
That it
Vinegar would hit an endpoint.
Yeah, that it would have an API that it's talking to that would manage the flow of data, like, out of it. In a sense.
I didn't understand the end of that.
That we'd have some sort of, like, API service kind of wrapped around Vinegar, or that Vinegar was directly talking to, that would manage the flow of its data out to anything else that needed it.
Well, I think that describes both. The only difference here is who puts stuff in SNS. The API or Vinegar itself.
Is it easier for SNS to subscribe to things like URL endpoints and such rather than program?
SNS doesn't subscribe to anything.
I'm sorry, to set up the subscription process around.
No, I mean, as far as I know, the only thing SQS can subscribe to is SNS.
I guess the real question there was, is it easier for Q to be a URL endpoint, or does it not matter in terms of the way it's executed?
Well, so fundamentally, SQS and SNS are HTTP services of their own, but what we're trying to do here is we're trying to isolate ourselves from SNS a little bit. So I think it's better architecture for Vinegar to hit your API, and it would be an API that only it is allowed to get to, right? And then your API will throw the message into SNS and then kick back off the rest of this.
Awesome. That really resonates with me. Awesome.
But the rest of this remains unchanged.
No, absolutely, yeah.
Right.
It's just the way that Vinegar is communicating with this service.
Correct. And who puts the message into the topic.
Right. And I think that would make sense because it wouldn't necessarily I think it would make sense to have a subscription process that talks to this, not Okay, I'm using the wrong terminology here. It would make sense to have something that controls its messages.
Well, I mean, you guys own all the code. That's the only difference, right?
Right.
And this should be a post, I think. Oh, this is fin. And this is post vinegar updated. I mean, what this gives you is isolation between your code and the Python people's code.
Right.
Right? I mean, they come in the front door just like the web page and just like anybody else. Like, you know, this code, this system that's running the website, you know, doesn't have any back doors into it from Vinegar. Like, Vinegar has to communicate through the front door just like everybody else. That's the advantage of this.
Right.
And I think that makes a lot of sense.
It does. No, it does. That just, yeah, perfect sense.
Okay.
Awesome stuff here.
Yeah, I think this is I think this is a very, very good way to go.
It's looking like it's everything we need without being overbearing, and it's a way that kind of allows us to do that. Sorry about that. Like the keeping things fast, but still maintaining data integrity.
Well, I think that this is it's kind of very minimalistic in terms of how much work needs to be done. Like, the best part about this is work only gets done when it absolutely must.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it kind of it keeps things like you said, when it has to be done, which means everything is as recent as possible, and
yeah, absolutely.
But it's still fast.
You don't have to go. Yeah, you don't, like, polling is usually a bad thing. Like, in most cases, like, you want to know when it's time to work. You don't have to want to sit there and wonder when it's time to work. Now, of course, you know, I say that as, you know, that SQS doesn't work that way, but from the rest of your code perspective, it kind of does. Like, it gets a message and it goes.
Yeah. Cool. Future thank you. SQS.
Just trying to get all my boxes organized here.
Awesome.
Run that by Phil or whoever needs to be.
Yeah, no, this is, yeah. And this particular doc, can you make this available for me, or Snow, or whoever?
Yeah, that'll be the last thing I do.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so it's always nice to hear from experienced developers, and, like, different perspectives and just different ways of thinking about everything.
Okay, so let me call it.
Would you mind sending me that link, not in this chat thing that I can...
Sure thing. Let's
maybe I can
I'll
find...
send it.
No, cancel.
Send it through Snugs here.
Okay, that works as well.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tom.
You're welcome. Good luck. Have fun.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.